So today I thought I'd talk about some of the work that I do in my professional life as a operations manager at a flooring store in the lower mainland of British Columbia in Surrey, BC and Langley, BC. I've actually grew up in the flooring industry and spent a lot of my youth working in the trade itself. And then after university, I spent a full year working in flooring as a laborer before leaving the country for about a decade, where I was teaching and doing a lot of tech-related stuff and some imports, exports. When I returned, I ended up going back to my family business, which was flooring, but in a role of marketing and content creation for our line of tools. And it was actually one of our first endeavors in YouTube was a channel called Air Stretcher, which is a tool that was invented by Lee Peters, who's my mentor and my mom's partner. It was an air stretcher for carpet, pneumatic carpet stretcher, and we did a series of videos and marketing material over an extended several year period where we were promoting that line of tools and an entire system around that line of tools. So that was one of my early endeavors in YouTube. We did quite well with YouTube, had quite a big reach in the flooring space. And all along, ever since I returned to the flooring industry after my time overseas, I've spent a lot of my energy and my production in the technical side, marketing, but also the technical side of the industry, and most recently in the operations side of things and how to build workflows and procedures that work really well for a construction related company. So I thought today what we could talk about is the dashboard system, the app that I've built for our company in order to manage our projects, so a project management system. And then as we move forward, we're going to be integrating this system into a local AI system that we are developing, that I'm also developing for the company, which will have our business analytics and our business intelligence, which will all be connected through the dashboard and into our locally hosted LLM and agents and that type of thing. So I thought I'd give a quick overview of the dashboard. I have a profile set up here that is a blank canvas. I built a new team in the system so that I could show you the system, what it looks like starting out, and give you a little bit of an overview of the features that we've incorporated. The screen that we're looking at right now is the dashboard itself. It's the front screen. It has the header area, which gives a little bit of information on sales information, leads, tasks, which are assigned to specific users, to-dos, which are often either embedded within tasks or they can be external to projects themselves. They can be to-dos that are more general as well. And then some notifications that we can use in order to flag to-dos or notify about an item that needs to be done, and we can send notifications to our team members and flag to-dos for our team members as well. Profile picture, and then the email address of the team member, and a drop-down menu which gives a lot of other pages that are summaries of certain areas of the dashboard. So let's go back to the main page here. Here we have the ability to add a project. We have a test project already created here. Below that, we have a to-do list. Now this to-do list is the user's to-do list. So when you're logged in, you will see all your to-dos. These are general to-dos. They're the ones that are not within projects or other nested within other items. These are universal to-dos for the user. And one of the great things about it is you can create a to-do. I can add a test to-do, and once I've added it, I can go into I can edit it and I can assign it to another user. Now in this workspace, in this team that I've got, there's no other users because it's a sort of a blank template to show the features that we have in this system. So I could update the to-do with a new assignee, and then that person would see that in their list. So that's how the to-dos work. And these can be archived if you want to save it, or if you just want to delete it, you can just delete it. If you wanted to, again, if you wanted to flag the to-do, you can add a flag to it. Now it goes up into your list of items that are sort of highlighted for you. If you want to notify, the notification's got a little bit more granularity. If it was a project on the notification, it would link to the project as well as the to-do item. So here it's a general, so it doesn't have a link to a project, but if it did have a project associated with it or a task associated with it, you would have a link to that as well. Then we go into a calendar, which will show project information. So project calendar, this will show which projects are happening when. And you can add team members to your team. If we go into this test project that I have built here, this goes into our next most important page, which is the project page. And most of the other functionality within the dashboard is nested within the project. So in the top line here, we have the sort of icons for all the different actions that can happen within the project, including like editing the project, giving more information, project address, phone number, a little bit of billing information, and so on. Some start date and end dates, which will then be reflected on the front page calendar. And also a list of the team members that are assigned to the project. Project photo, so if we want to add an image to the photo, we could throw an image in. And then that image would then be at the header, but also if we went out of here and look on the project, it would also be on the dashboard to give you like an indication of what the project is. We often use like Street View for projects. That's useful for our install teams because if it's a Street View visual, they can see where they're going. Within the projects, the first set of items is tasks, which are kind of a generic item that you can use for multiple different purposes. You can give more detail on the project. You could do sample sign-outs for if the sales team is showing samples to a client, they can sign out, have like a task that's used for managing sampling and selections. When you convert projects into, or like leads into projects, it'll generate a few tasks and a few to-dos that are related to that level of project that you're doing. So for example, if we went into a convert to prospect, it's going to have measurement and selections automatically added, and then a group of to-dos that need to be done in order to move it to the next stage, which would be to convert it to a project. So prospect not quite closed, and then to go to a job. That would be more of a residential type scenario where it's a more simple job. And then if it was a commercial job with multiple more advanced payment scheduling and that type of thing, we have the convert to advanced job, which has more tasks and more to-dos that are associated with it. One of the interesting things about within the tasks is that you can also add time-stamped notes, so that if you're working within a task, like for example, if you're giving samples to a customer, you can make notes of the sample that you gave them samples or received samples back, and it'll timestamp it with your username as well, so that we can just keep track of what's been happening. If it's a lead process, you could be, noting that you reached out to the person, or that you spoke with them or sent them an estimate, or whatever you need to do. You can timestamp those items. Task description. And then here, this is for the measurement tasks. So there's like a list of things that you could need to do within. You can make a nested to-do list. And then that to-do list would also reflect on the side as well. And within your personal front page, it would also have these tasks and to-dos, these to-dos listed in your front page to-do list as well for each individual user. And then a link, which we usually use this for our Google Drive connectivity. So we'll have a link to, generally the first task will have a link to in commercial projects, we'll have a link to the entire folder of all the documentation. So it's very easy to pull up like drawings or spreadsheets or whatever we need from Google. So there's some integration with some of our different services that we use. Task statuses help for us to understand where things are, or whether they've been completed or whether they need to be completed. And then we can also upload images or PDFs for each task. And if we need, like for example, drawings or images from a project manager to show progress, all that can go within a task. There's also the ability to book a measure. And this will go into the calendar for measurements, the Google Calendar, so it's synced with Google Calendar as well. And an assignee who's responsible for the task. And then below tasks, we get into orders, and an order starts off as a simple, add a supplier. If there's suppliers already in your database, you can just start typing and then select from the list of suppliers. You can put the details of what you need to order, then create the order. And then once the order is created, it goes amber, which means that it needs to be dealt with. And what we need is two things. When we've added a supplier, their email address will be automatically propagated into this field, which we can then just send the order in to their order desk. And at the same time, that email is also sent to our operations team, so that we're aware of the order, that the order's been placed as well. We have a copy of it as well. And then when the confirmation is sent back to our sales team, the confirmation is entered in the order number, and then that turns off the timer. So once you send this email, there's a timer, a countdown timer, just to be sure that there's a confirmation is received. If their confirmation is not received, we can follow up and get a confirmation, just so that we don't miss an order. Sometimes in the past, we've ordered something, we thought, okay, we've sent off the order, but we never followed up if we didn't receive a confirmation. So this is a way of receiving the confirmation, entering it in, and then having like a full circle on the order process. And then once the order is, like say for example, I enter an order number and I say that it's been paid, upload an image potentially of, or a PDF of the order, so that when the delivery driver picks it up, they have the bill of lading. Can add the date that it's due to pick up. Then it'll go back to white, and it'll reflect the status of the item in the sort of the desktop view. And then the next step would be scopes. So scopes are an order, work order for a install supplier or internal installer. So we would build a scope out to send off to our install team, or to send off to a one of our subcontractors that's going to take on a portion of, say, a larger commercial job. And we have a scope that is sent out. And in the same way, when we have a scope with all the information in it, all the items that we want to put into the scope, and then the start date for the project, end date for the project, create the scope. When we go into this scope, again, we can add the installer. So if there's an installer database with installers that you use, we can add an installer in. Or if it's a new installer, we can add that installer in here. There's also the ability to add line items of jobs. So sometimes it's nice to have a breakdown of each individual line item for the scope, so that when they come to bill us, we can match the job items with their invoice and make sure that it's properly billed. And when you add an installer, that would propagate the installer's email address into this field here, and then you can send it. And if we did send it, like say for example, I'll just send it to myself. It would be automatically propagated if I was listed as an installer. And then once I send it, it's going to give like a notification here that the email has been sent. And then at the same time, we could also book the job into Google Calendar. So we can add the install into Google Calendar with the dates, and then that's our master calendar for all the installs that are happening. So that's the way that the scope system works. Change orders, if a change order comes down the line, we have a way of adding a change order and making sure that there is documentation for the change order from our customer, so that we don't get into a situation where we have a change order that isn't authorized. And then the final piece of the puzzle is the invoicing. So we use QuickBooks as our bookkeeping system. When we take an estimate and convert it into an invoice, those invoices are automatically sent over into a pool of items in our dashboard that are listed under the invoices page right here. And those can then be gone through our admin can go through and they can tag, confirm that the invoice looks correct, and then assign it to the project. And then once it's assigned to the project, it goes into the project list with the status of the invoice, whether it's been sent, whether it's been received, whether the holdback has been received, in order to ultimately be able to close out the entire project, get it to 100%, and then archive it. So there's not a lot. All these other pages are basically just lists of filtered lists of tasks and orders and invoices, installers, calendar items, which are scopes, all laid out. All the different project scopes are laid out in the calendar item. Tickets are service items, so they're scopes that are labeled as a ticket. So they're a scope that is a service item, and it goes into a different field, which is called a ticket. And that's pretty much it. It's a fairly straightforward system. It's a lot more straightforward than a lot of the systems that we looked at, paid SaaS systems that we looked at potentially buying into. And one of the reasons why we decided to go ahead and build our own is, first of all, I'm capable of doing that, which, I would say that the majority of flooring outlets probably wouldn't have the capacity to in-house develop their own project management system, but we are capable of doing that in-house, so that was an option. It's something that I do. I'm consistently maintaining the project, but I don't spend a ton of time on it. Most weeks I spend very little time, maybe less than a half an hour, doing little tweaks and updates. In terms of like development, we obviously use the dashboard all the time for production, like for operations. But as a developer, on the developer side, I don't do a lot of work on it every week. There have been times during, like, say, the last year or so when I've developed it that I've spent good portions of a week putting in a lot of effort to push through and get like a feature added. So there have been quite a few hours put into the project, but I just sort of use my time when I have it. If I have spare time in my schedule and I don't have other things to do, it's a project that I have ongoing that I can work on. And at this stage right now, it's usually fairly minor tweaks. So that very quickly, within say an hour, I can put in a new feature or adapt a feature or do a fix or whatever needs to be done. Now we are moving on to phase 2 of the project, which is like building an in-house AI model and agent set and vector database that will be interacting with the dashboard. Now, right now, none of that functionality is set up. We're still working on developing the in-house AI. And I'm going to do another video about that, how we're doing that as a separate video. But this one, I just thought we'd just run over how I built a project management system from scratch. I've really been a lucky person to have come up under Lee Peters, who's just a fantastic leader and innovator. Really sort of a generational talent in flooring, which is a strange thing because you don't really see that kind of thing very often. It's nothing against the trade, but the majority of people are just like, get her done and go home and live their lives, which nothing against that. But to come up under someone that really lived and breathed flooring as we did, coming up, Sunday night after dinner, talking about projects that we were working on, not necessarily the operations, like the things that were happening within the business in the later years, but more the bigger picture, the legacy of building tools and just changing the industry for the better. And Lee did that through inventing a lot of tools that will never see the light of day. We would build tools specific for individual jobs, but then a lot of tools that a lot of people are aware of through the air stretcher, particularly. And then myself, sort of being an innovator in the marketing space in flooring, we were one of the first really big flooring channels on YouTube, and really made an impact, I think, in that space in the late 2000s, 2010s. Work on processes and innovating in sort of the other aspect of the industry, which is the construction management side of things. It's just been a great career in flooring. Obviously, this is like just one of my careers. I've had a parallel career in tech and content creation and writing and filmmaking and photography. So I've sort of had dual roles pretty much my entire career, but it's fun, and that's what it's all about. So thanks for stopping in and having a look at what I'm doing with project management system for our business. Comment below if there's ideas that you have on building systems for your business. And thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.